Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Fix Your BS. We're the podcast where we dive deep into the belief systems that shape our lives and hold us back from achieving our dreams. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Pursley, also known as Dr. G, and in each episode, we'll explore powerful conversations with successful individuals across business and money, relationships, health, and also personal growth. Join us as we unpack their journeys, challenge limiting beliefs, and discover practical insights to help you build your dream life on your terms. It is time to fix your BS and unlock your full potential. Let's go. Today, I am meeting here with Owen. Owen is the points partner. So the points partner, what you guys might not know, is he helps you get on planes for free and even on beds on planes for free. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We talked briefly a minute ago, you guys might want to stick around for it, about Britney Spears. And we're going to talk about how that relates to how Owen got to where he is today. So Owen, tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself. But first and foremost, thanks for being here.
Indeed. Good morning, good afternoon, or indeed good evening to you all, wherever you may be. For those that don't know me, my name is Owen. Excuse my British accent. I am also American as well, and I live in Los Angeles, California. I am known as the Points Partner, and what I do is I help individuals and businesses truly and mathematically maximize all of their credit card benefits. And I help people get as many credit card points and air miles as is mathematically possible for their lifestyle. And then I teach people how to use said points efficiently. In other words, I put people on beds, on planes for free. That is what I do for a living. And I do that in about 30 different ways, ranging from free tips and tricks on all the social media platforms every day. I have online courses. I do private consultations, after dinner speaking, podcasts like this one, and about 30 other ways where I help people find flights, book flights, choose credit cards, and everything in between.
All right. So I'm loving this, first of all, because this is something that is so controversial for so many people, because there's two rules of thought here. The Dave Ramsey rule of thought is don't ever use credit cards, don't ever get in debt, pay everything with cash, save money, blah, 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 blah. I disagree with that totally, personally.
It's not something to agree with or disagree with. I'm going to explain it to you in one sentence. Dave Ramsey won't do that. He gets paid too much money to have one solid opinion. I'm going to simplify it for you and all of your listeners. Credit is a tool. If you're going to take any notes, write this down. Credit is a tool. You can do good with it and you can do bad with it. It's like a hammer, which is also a tool. You can build me a house, Greg, with a hammer. You can also knock down my house with a hammer. It's the same as a gun. You can do good and defend your house with a gun. You can do bad and hurt people with a gun. It's a tool. So if you are responsible enough and you are educated enough and you are forward thinking enough, you can do phenomenal things with your credit. And I am a testament to that. I have 47 credit cards. My credit score is perfect 850. And I do about $160,000 worth of free travel every single year using credit card points and air miles. I am not a magician. I don't have a magic sauce that no one else has got. What I have got is a keen eye for math, and I work in what I call sexy math. It's 2 + 2, but it ends with a bed on a plane worth $10,000, $15,000. And all I've done is focus on a currency that no one else is focused on. Everyone is fighting over US dollars or euros or yen or Bitcoin. And I am focused on credit card points and air miles, where you can turn the value of them by an order of magnitude by just clicking one button and moving them to an airline at the right time. And that hopefully explains the difference between credit cards and credit is bad and credit cards and points and miles is great. It is just down to the individual on your education and your responsibility level.
Well, that's so true. So one of the things I talk about with my groups is financial literacy. You have to become financially literate, understand how money works and how money moves. And I love that you said points and then you said currency. You literally turned that into a currency, which is how my wife and I look at the credit card points. We look at it as an added benefit and added income for our family to purchase things that we would have to use cash otherwise. And we've gotten plenty of free things. We've gotten iPads and we've gotten earbuds and whatever, Beats headphones and blah, 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 blah. But I love the idea of turning points into flights and being able to travel, which you can turn into hotels and you can turn into stays and traveling, all this stuff, which generally costs quite a bit. So let's talk about this for a second. You said you have 47 credit cards. Is that right? Yeah. I love that. I love that. So first things first, how did you get into this currency called credit card points?
I'm going to answer that question, but I'm not going to spend 45 minutes talking about how I got into it, because that's just as interesting as it itself. I used to run a paparazzi photography company with my dad. It was headquartered out of London, but we had offices around the entire world. And my job was getting my 1,500 photographers in front of A-list celebrities around the world 24 hours a day and taking their photos and selling them to newspapers and magazines. And that's how I learned my original skill set of airports, airport codes, airport lounges, free upgrades, car rentals, hotels, because I was essentially orchestrating the logistics behind those 1,500 photographers. And that's where my love for upgrades and beds on planes began, because we always had to get the photographers or myself upgraded into first class, which the company couldn't afford to put us in, to be with the celebrity in order to follow them. And the moral implication of what I used to do is another whole podcast, which perhaps we could do some other time. But for now, that's how the basis started. And then I came out to America back in 2005, following Britney Spears. I was brought out to cover her breakdown when it originally happened. And that was expected to last a week, maybe 10 days. As we now know, it's been 20 years and it's still going on. So I never left. And, I ran the company from Hollywood, from here for many, many years. And we covered the likes of Brad and Angie and Britney Spears, Nicole Richie, so on and so forth. And then the industry took a turn around the time when cell phones became as good as big cameras, around the time as websites were as popular as newspapers and magazines, and then social media really took over in full force. And I saw the writing was on the wall that it was going to head south, and I thought it's time to get out and do what my real passion is, which is credit card points and travel. And at that time, I'd already built up an army of credit cards for helping me personally get points and get on beds on planes going to and from Europe and visiting family and friends around the world. And it seemed obvious. At that point, I was already helping friends choose credit cards, book flights, etc. And then I opened the Points Partner, and I've been full-time for, I think, the best part of a decade now. And over the years, it started off as a private consultation service for big spenders and wealthy individuals here in Hollywood. And then during the pandemic, I did an online course for Middle America that went viral, and I ended up on Good Morning America. And then there was a big following online. So I had a merch store and a private community called the Inner Circle. We meet every couple of weeks on Zoom, and then merch lines. And, now I have a whole booking department. You can come to us and we'll help you find flights and book flights using your points. And it just goes on and on and on and on, and it never stopped. And whenever you, and I'm sure you get this a lot because you interview people, whenever you interview anyone who is wealthy or successful, they all tell you one thing, which is you've got to do something you're passionate about. And when I used to hear that when I was young and not successful, I used to think, oh, it's easy for you to say, you've got all the money, of course you can do what you want now. But that's not the reason that they say it. They say it because you need to be so heavily, emotionally, financially, and emotionally invested in what you do, or you have no chance of winning. There is not a human on this planet that loves credit card points and free travel more than me. So they won't get up earlier than me. They won't produce as much content as me, and they won't do as many numbers as I will do. And that, my friend, is the reason why you must do something you are passionate about for a living in order to be successful.
I love that. And actually the wealthiest people that I know work harder than most people. And the reason why is because they might have done something they didn't enjoy, but they got financially to the point where they could go and do whatever they're passionate about. And they work longer hours and harder than the average individual because they are acting out on their passion. I was the one that actually came across your page and reached out individually. I was really excited about the idea. because I get this question a lot in my personal growth and business growth groups. Our business uh, individuals in those groups, they have a lot of cash flow coming through, sometimes millions of dollars of cash flow. In my companies, millions of dollars comes through. And I always look at ways of how can we maximize the flow of those dollars to where we can then get extra added perks and benefits. And so there's a lot of cards that we have. Now, there's the difference between personal and business. I'm sure I really deal with the business side. So can you tell me what those differences are between business and personal? I'm sure you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to just, for anyone who's still listening to this podcast, I want to just whet their appetite and tell them the value of their points. And then we're going to dive straight into the difference between personal, business, and corporate credit and credit cards. For every 100,000 points that you have, doesn't matter if they're on a personal credit card or a business credit card, if you don't know what you're doing, that is worth $1,000 worth of free travel. If you do know what you're doing, they can be worth as much as $10,000 for the same points. How you use your points determines the value of them. I'm going to say that again because it's probably the most important thing you're going to learn today. Is the value of your points is entirely determined on how you use them. Greg can take his 100,000 points and get $800 off of his next Amazon order from Jeff Bezos. And I can get on a $10,000 bed on a plane to Singapore. So understanding and educating yourself on how to use your points is more important than how many points you've got. I would rather have 100,000 points and know what I'm doing than 1,000,000 points and not know what I'm doing. Okay, let's talk about the difference between personal credit cards, business credit cards, and corporate credit cards. And I guarantee you not a single person listening will get this right. Personal credit cards pull on your personal credit and you are responsible for paying them. Business credit cards pull on your personal credit and you are responsible for paying them. Corporate credit cards do not pull on your personal credit and you are not responsible for paying them. But before you get any ideas, you need to be turning over at least $5 million a year to be eligible for a corporate credit card. Nor would you want a corporate credit card because the points that you get are non-transferable, which is what makes points valuable. So, in other words, you want personal and business credit cards. They are the same thing. The only difference between a personal credit card and a business credit card is that a business credit card, for the most part, doesn't report your utilization back to the credit bureaus. What is your utilization? Your utilization is the percentage of your available credit that you use each month. I shall give an example. If you have $10,000 limit on your credit card and you spend $5,000 this month, I don't care if you paid it off or when you paid it off, but if you used $5,000, that's 50% utilization. The credit bureaus want to see you use less than 10% of your available credit. Businesses don't have the luxury of trying to keep it low. They've got business expenses to pay for. So they kind of rule it out. They don't report the utilization back to the bureaus. Let me translate that into real term advice for you, which is if you're going to spend lots of money every month, you're better off doing it on a business credit card. I get it all day long. Small business owners who are worth millions of dollars, who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on their credit card every month, pay it off in full on time and come to me with a 650 credit score because they've ruined their own credit by spending too large a percentage every month on their credit. People assume that just paying your bill on time is all you need to do to have good credit. It is not. That is one of 5 major factors that will play an enormous part in what your credit, not just score is, but your credit profile, which is more important than your score. Your credit score is something that Greg and I can talk about in a bar. Your credit profile is what will get you approved or declined for a credit card.
I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you for a second because that was a lot of info that people are going to have to digest. And what's interesting is I went through the school of hard knocks in that exact process. I had a business doing a few $100,000 a year. I would use a lot, utilize my credit cards, whatever. My credit was good. When we took that business and it went from a few $100,000 a year to over 2 million per year, all of a sudden my utilization went way up and I didn't realize a lot of the credit cards I was using for business actually were personal. And when that started to get intermixed, all of a sudden my credit started to drop. Well, then when I went to refinance, they went, well, your credit score is too low. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's too low only because I'm utilizing these. And that's when I had the school of hard knocks of real life of learning about credit utilization.
The vast majority of small business owners are the people that I can help the most, because the average person in America spends between $1,000 and $2,000 a month on their credit card personally. I can get them roughly 3 points for every dollar spent, which means that I can get them kind of like between 5 and 10,000 points a month, which means I can get them maybe 100, 200,000 points a year. Or as I like to call it, a couple of round trip business class tickets anywhere in the world a year, which is worth, let's call it $15,000, $20,000 worth of free travel. Now that's cool, but you know what's cooler, Greg? Is a small business owner who spends 100 grand a month. I have legacy conversations about what their great grandkids, what beds on planes they'll be taking. So when you start to look at the true value, how much free travel you can unlock if you really understand the system, it's astronomical. But that pales insignificant to the benefit that can be achieved, not just to do with free travel, but also purchase protections, insurances, setting up available credit for your business lines. Like, there's so much that comes under the remit of credit cards. It's not just free travel. It's those insurances, purchase protections, access to lounges, global entry, pre-check, credits, exclusive access to people, events, networking. There's just so much to unpack, and the more you unpack it, the more questions there are, and that's what I do, is I answer those questions.
Well, I tell you what, I'm really impressed so far, simply because I thought we were just going to talk about credit card points and how you can maximize them, but you're really getting deep into the credit profile, which is so important, and a lot of people do not understand it. And yes, you need high credit in order to borrow things at a lower interest rate. But if you want to do anything with any bank of any sort, you have to have credit, and you have to have it in line. You have to have it in order. And so I love that you're talking about that. It's something that most people don't understand. And having that in order opens you up to having more higher limits, which then allows you to have, better purchase power, which then allows you to have more points. I mean, it all connects.
The rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and it's the same with credit and credit card points. Because if you're well educated and you can keep your utilization low, your credit score goes up. Then you can get more credit, which means you're using a smaller percentage of it, which means your score goes up again. And before you know it, you end up like me. I have 47 credit cards. I have $7.6 million of available credit every month, which means I'm using 0.0001% of that credit, which means my credit score is perfect. I've got tons of available credit. I pay 0% interest on everything. And I've got points coming out of orifices that I didn't even know existed. So, obviously I'm an extreme case, but that's what I do, is I educate people on how to head in that direction. And you don't need to do it very much to get extreme benefit. Like I said, the average person in America can be flying business class, a couple of times a year. And once you start becoming a high spender or business owner, it goes through the roof. Last week, I booked a client of mine who lives in Bel Air, 27 of them business class to Italy and back for this summer. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of beds on planes, and it was done for literally pennies on the dollar. And it's, like I said, it's not a magic sauce. I'm not a magician. I'm not cheating. No banks are upset. No airlines are upset with me. It's just maximizing. It's just being efficient and understanding how that process works.
Well, one of the things I talk about a lot is being resourceful. The best CEOs, the best business owners are the ones that are the most resourceful. And how do you maximize your time? How do you maximize your dollar? How do you maximize your marketing? How do you maximize your leads that come in? How do you maximize your sales? That's what I think about all day, every day, is how do I be as resourceful as possible? So this is something I'm really excited about, because I started about a year and a half, 2 years ago, as my company started to really grow, do exactly what you're talking about, which is, how can I utilize these things more? And I've learned some. I've taken some courses from different people that have become friends of mine. But I've never dove into specifically how to maximize credit card points into travel. I've used them for other things. So why is it that credit card points increase in value when you flip them over to travel, when you transfer them into the travel industry?
Yeah. So when we talk about the benefits of credit cards, they really fall under four categories. There is cashback, there is air miles, there is credit card points, and there is hotel points. And I'm going to give you the literal value of each one of those. And we're going to make the assumption that you get one back for $1 that you spend for the purposes of this conversation. If you get a hotel point back, it is worth 0.5 cents on average. If you get an air mile back, it is worth between 0.6 and 1.2 cents per air mile, depending on the airline that you're getting it with. If you're getting back cash back, it is worth 1 cent. And if you're getting a credit card point and you use it badly, it's worth 1 cent. But if you use it the way that I teach people, it can be as much as 10 cents. And it's fair to say, on average, for international business class, you're getting roughly 6-7 cents on average. But it can be more, it can be less. So why is that? Well, let's understand the relationship between credit card companies, banks, and airlines. When was the last time you paid for an airline ticket in cash?
Never.
There you go. So every single airline ticket is paid for on a credit card, which means that airlines are losing 2-3% to credit card fees on their entire business. So they went to the credit card companies and said, hey, we don't want to pay 3%. Can we pay like 1%? And they said, sure, give us 10 quadrillion air miles to hand out to our clients and we'll cut the fee down. And then the credit card company creates a credit card and says, hey, we'll give you 100,000 air miles if you get this credit card. So all that's happening is you're paying in advance, essentially, for your travel by buying air miles or credit card points way in advance, which is helpful for the credit card companies, it's helpful for the airlines, and it's helpful for you. And ironically, it's the other way round, which is airlines make their money from selling air miles to credit card companies. They actually don't make any money selling tickets for planes. I swear to you, this is so true. Please Google it or chat GPT it as I'm talking to you. During the pandemic, when all the flights were grounded, Delta was going to go bankrupt. They leveraged their air mile program, Sky Miles, to keep them alive. That's how much money they make from air miles. They don't make money from selling tickets. They lose money. They want you to get their credit card and spend money on their credit card, and they'll give you air miles and they'll give you the ticket for nothing. So understand that these airlines, people assume that you pay the money, you get a seat on a plane. That's not what they want. And that's the reason why the rules around mileage tickets are better than they are around paying cash. If I want to cancel my mileage ticket up until 24 hours before my flight, they'll give me back all my miles and my taxes. But if I bought a ticket, I lose the money. So they're literally putting on a pedestal people that use their credit cards and use air miles over people who've got real money, which makes their point the same as my point, which is credit card points are worth more than money. When was the last time you tried to log into a frequent flyer program of any airline, Delta, United, American, JetBlue, Hawaiian, Southwest, Frontier? You went through 7 layers of security. You put in your PIN number, then they sent you an email. You click on that, they give you another. Do you know why? Because you're logging into a bank. That is worth real money. In fact, it's worth more than real money. So understand now that the value is greater than Bitcoin. It's greater than the US dollar. So, it's like I'm the only banker. It's like I'm, what's the guy who runs JP Morgan? What's his name? It's going to drive me nuts now. Anyway, it's like I'm the head of the bank. I'm the only one. There's no one else. You've got you've got 50 million people across America fighting over US dollars and telling you how to buy and sell currencies. And I'm the only one talking about something that's worth 10 times the value.
It was Jamie Dimon, right?
Thank you, Jamie. Yeah. I'm like the Jamie Dimon of credit card.
My assistant, I was like, "Hey, look that up, please." So, but yeah, I couldn't come up with it either. I was drawing a blank. But you're exactly right, and I've always kind of known that, just running a business and knowing what's happening, and that was the thing back in 2020 when all the COVID stuff happened. People were like, "Oh my gosh, these airlines are going to go bankrupt," and I would have conversations with people in my groups, and I'd be like, "No, they're not, because they have the credit cards, and that's how they actually make the money." Because, well, number one, Americans on average spend about $10 for every dollar that they actually have credit available, so they end up in debt, and therefore the interest on those things are around 23%. So the credit cards are making money off of that. Banks are making money off that. Airlines are making money off of that as well. But it's so cool. I just love how excited you are about this, by the way. I love that you're just like freaking these points, and it's actually getting me excited because I've got 100,000 plus Amex points right now. Like I don't know what to do with them. Sometimes we buy some things off Amazon and we'll use Amex points, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, don't do that. So tell me about the best, like,
Okay.
what am I doing wrong there, or what can we do?
Yeah. Okay, so the first thing, let's go through the best use of your points all the way through to the worst use of your points. The worst use of your points is to link it to your Amazon account, your CVS account, your Rite Aid account. You'll get 0.7 to 0.8 cents per point. The next worst use of your point is to go through the credit card company itself and book travel. You'll get 1 cent for every point. If you transfer your points out of the credit card company and into airlines, they become air miles, and you'll start getting between 2 and 3 cents per point to book coach domestic travel. If you then book business class or first class domestically, you can sometimes get between 3 and 4 cents per point, but most of the time it's 2 and 3. And if you start booking international coach travel, we start heading into 3, 4, 5 cents a point. And when you book business class international, that's when you can get 7, 8, 9 cents a point. I'm going to do it backwards for you, Greg, so you can simplify it for you and your listeners. If I'm in New York and I want to go to Paris round trip in business class, it's going to cost $7,000 roughly for that ticket. If you go through your credit card company, they will charge you 100 times the cost of said travel, but in points, which means $7,000 becomes 700,000 points. But if I was to transfer the points from American Express, for example, into Air France, in the best case scenario, I would find it round trip for 100,000 miles plus taxes, and the taxes would be a couple of $100. So option 1 is $7,000, option 2 is 700,000 points, and option 3 is 100,000 points and 300 euros in taxes. Greg, which of those 3 options would you like?
Option 3, obviously.
There we go. And essentially I teach people how to do that. And then the next, pushback that people say is, well, when I went to Air France, it wasn't 100,000, it was 400,000. Well, depending on the day and the time and how long in advance you're booking, it could be as little as 100,000 or as much as 500,000. So that's when this is when it starts to get interesting, because Air France wasn't your only option. You could also move it to British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, Delta, Air Canada, so on and so forth. And all of those airlines have partners, and you can pretty much book a third of all of the airlines from any one place. So when you're searching in Delta, you're not just looking at Delta, you're looking at the whole SkyTeam network, which includes but not limited to Air France, KLM, Virgin Atlantic, Aeromexico, so on and so forth. So by just searching in 2 or 3 places, you're actually checking every flight on Earth. But nobody knows that. And that's why I built this online course to show people exactly what to do, when to do it, how to check all the places to get the best deals every time. And then there's it just gets deeper and deeper, because then you can start to say, well, the best I could find out of New York was 200,000 points round trip. But when I searched out of Boston, I could find it for 75. So does it make sense for me to relocate to Boston for this flight and save some points? And then it comes down to the individual, right? It's like, well, do you want to start avoiding places to save money or points or taxes? I'll give you a great example. It costs $900 in taxes to land in London in business class. I have to go back to London 5 or 6 times a year. I live in Los Angeles. So would I rather pay $1,800 in taxes for a business class taxes, or would I rather go via France or via Germany and pay $75? So it starts to become very granular about your lifestyle, how many points you've got, how much time you've got, how much money you've got, and balancing the 3 to find a bespoke solution for you, your business, your family, your friends, your colleagues, your employees, to what makes the most sense.
Why is international such a higher point multiplier than domestic?
The short answer is America is a captive market. Most Americans don't leave America. They stay domestic travel on Delta, United, or American or JetBlue, and they go from San Francisco to New York or LA to Miami. And therefore that you've got 350 million Americans who all want a business class ticket for their 4-hour morning flight, which is just a waste of time. I can tell you as a real traveler, I could care less what seat you put me on in America. It's a bus ride for 4 hours in the sky. When we start doing 16-hour flights into Dubai and Singapore, that's when I want a bed. So it's just supply and demand. America's got a lot of people who are trying to do the same domestic routes, so they can just whack the prices up. So they do. It's the opposite. When you go international, you've got millions of airlines and nowhere near as many people that know how to do this. So there's just a lot more availability for great prices. I sometimes put people on 15-hour beds on planes to Asia cheaper than what I can get them from San Francisco to New York, which is just nuts.
That's amazing. So you obviously have turned this into a pretty big business, which is amazing. You've got online courses, you've got the actual booking agency that helps book the flights, which is really, really cool. But let's talk about for a second between personal business, those type of things. Do you have a favorite credit card company, or is a certain one better, like an airline card to a specific airline, like American Airline credit card, Chase, Southwest credit cards, which I have some of those already? Are any of those specifically better, or any of them that you would avoid?
Yes. And this is where you're going to lose half of your listeners in this one sentence, because everyone here is going to pull a face of pain right now. The worst type of credit card is what's called a co-branded credit card. That's when a credit card gets together with an airline or hotel group. And I guarantee you now, every single person listening to me on this podcast has got either a Delta, American, United, JetBlue, Frontier, Hilton, Hyatt, or Marriott Bonvoy credit card. And they are the worst ones for you. And let me explain why. It's not my opinion. It's not that they don't pay me enough money to tell them that they're great. It's pure math. Is that the miles and points that you're getting can only be used within their network. So in the example that I gave you, if you only had, say, for example, United miles on that credit card, and it was 300,000 miles round trip to Paris, but Air France is doing it for 100, you could earn points at a third of the amount that card is getting you on any other credit card, and you'd be better off doing that. And the irony is you wouldn't earn a third, you'd earn 3 times as many. The most popular credit card on my website, and by the way, I have all the credit cards from all the major things. Not one of them pays me, and I only sell their product. I have them all. And there's a reason I have them all, and I'm not exclusive with any one of them, is that there are pros and cons to every credit card company. Every credit card is demographically suited for somebody. The question is matching the right people with the right cards. I'm like the Tinder, the Bumble of credit cards and businesses and humans. Nobody has the right credit card for themselves. There's 3,000 credit cards. The odds of you picking the right one for you is very small. And I'm here to change that. It depends on your credit score, your age, what credit cards you've already got, what your home airport is. Do you need lounge access? How much do you spend a month? What percentage of that goes in bonus categories? Food, drink, gas, travel, marketing, office supplies. What order to get them in? All of these things matter. There's hundreds of questions that will determine what I will diagnose is the right credit card or cards or sequence of cards for you. Because it's incredibly bespoke. What's good for you, Greg, is not what's good for me. And that's the bit. People always want to, the number one thing, I sit in restaurants here in Hollywood. People come up to me and they wave their credit card in my face and they say, is this a good credit card? That's the wrong question. Is it a good credit card for you is the right question.
It's interesting because I'm a doctor. Actually, I'm a chiropractor by trade. I was a chiropractic physician for 15 years. I turned my clinics into integrated medical. We do regenerative medicine and things. So what you're really explaining is the diagnostic process of a clinician. You're saying, hey, we're going to take your symptoms, because we get that a lot. I'll have people walk up to me and they'll say, hey, I've got this shoulder problem. Can you help? And my response is, well, I help a lot of people with shoulder problems. Depending on what you have going on, how that came to be, what symptoms you're currently having, how old you are, so on and so forth, will depend on if we can help and how. It's the same thing.
Exactly. So we went off on a slight tangent there, but let's rein it back in. So co-branded credit cards generally are only good for road warriors. If you work for a large corporation, you're flying week in, week out to the same locations for your business, the business is paying for it. Yes, those co-branded cards may be useful to have in your wallet, but not in exclusivity to help you with free baggage or lounge access or upgrades, but incredibly unlikely. I'm talking less than 5% of the people listening that's the case. The vast majority of people should be collecting generic credit card points that can be transferred from the credit card company to a number of airlines and hotels. They should not be collecting one particular brand. They should be collecting a minimum of two, and there are a total of 5. But the two most popular ones right now, and these things do change, it's a bit like a stock market, American Express and Capital One, in my opinion, have slightly better transfer partners right now, but that can change and it will change. What credit cards you get, you have to look at, there's an order to these things. And I would say to anyone who's listening to this that's thinking, oh, I want to get a new credit card now, please don't just go on my website and get a new credit card. You're messing with your credit. Shoot me a message, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I won't charge you anything. I'll answer your question, or one of my team will, or book in with me for 10 minutes on a Zoom call and I'll ask you some questions and we'll see you in the right direction. But the first type of credit card people want is what's called a lifestyle credit card. A lifestyle credit card is one that gives you extra points for your day-to-day spend, in particular food and drink. And the number one credit card on my website, and has been for the last 4 years, has been the American Express Gold Card, which gives you 4 times points for all of your food and drink. That's grocery stores, cafes, food delivery, restaurants, delicatessens, all that kind of good stuff. That's called a lifestyle credit card. That's the best one. There's many others as well. The second type of card that you want is what's called a non-bonus category card. Now, you have these places where you get extra points: food, drink, gas, travel, marketing, and office supplies. I'll say it again because I know I speak very quickly, and most people are probably just putting a strange face now because I've been speaking so quickly. Food, drink, gas, travel, marketing, or office supplies. Anything else is what's considered non-bonus. And you should only get 1 point for every dollar that you spend, but there are some credit cards that will give you 2 points for every dollar that you spend, and you can double that. And that's the second type of card that you want. The most popular one is the Capital One Venture Card, or the Venture X, or the Venture X Business. All of the Capital One cards give you 2 points for every dollar spent, and that's probably where most people will land. But there are some other options. Citibank has the Citi Double Cash Card, and even though it's called cash, they give you points. You've got the American Express Business Blue Plus, which also gives you 2 points for every dollar spent. Not to be confused with the American Express Business Blue Cash, which does not. It gives you cash. It gets very granular, this stuff, Greg. It gets a bit messy. After that, the next type of card you want is a premium credit card. That's one that has a large annual fee, tends to come with lounge access, a hefty annual fee, global entry, pre-check, and the points don't tend to be very good on those cards, but the benefits are you get great credits, upgrades, Uber One, and all that kind of good stuff. And in particular, lounge access is the big one. After that, after you've done lifestyle credit cards, you've done non-bonus cards, you've done premium credit cards, the next type of card is a business credit card. Even if you don't own a business, I will say that again. Business credit cards are not just for people with businesses. Anyone can get a business credit card. You just need a tax EIN number, which you can do for free in 5 minutes on irs.org. And then you can get a business credit card. And there is massive advantages to having business credit cards. More points, less annual fees, smaller utilization, less reported utilization. The list goes on forever. And lastly, and certainly leastly, is then co-branded credit cards, those American, Delta, United, all those kind of hotel ones as well. That's the last type of credit card that you want. So you can see the more you ask questions, Greg, the more complex it becomes. The order is incredibly important. If you get the cards in the wrong order, you miss out on bonuses. They blacklist you from this company. It gets very messy. There's all these rules around what credit cards will allow, what they won't allow, what order, how many cards a day, how many applications have you had in the last 24 months. If you got that card before this card, you can't get the bonus on that card. So it's an entire, not just conversation, it's an entire business that I run, helping people navigate that and saying, Dr. Greg, you need to do this card, followed by that card on the same day. Wait 3 months, do this card, use that card for this. Did you know you don't need to put business spend on a business credit card? So you need to use your personal credit card, but under an authorized user to give your CPA the business spend from your personal card. It starts to get a little bit messy, and that's why I've got all this gray hair.
Well, at least you have hair. I say better gray than nay. So if somebody wants to get started, obviously direct messaging you is a really great tool, which everybody, the link is below. All of Owen's information is below, his website, his Instagram, his other social media, any links that he wants us to send you to, they're below. Click them. This is something that is exciting because for the average individual, it can add salary. It can add an hourly wage to their income for the year. I mean, if you're looking at, well, we want to take this trip, instead of you buying it with cash, now you can plan for it accordingly through credit card usage, transfer the points, and get things and upgrades and all of this. Obviously you have proven you are the credit card points king. I'm telling you, man, the amount of information you've put in a 30-minute, a 40-minute episode here is amazing. Any final thing that you would like to say to people that were listening to this? Number one, I would say re-listen to it, because he does. Oh, and you talk fast, but man, your information is on point. But any final thing you'd like to say to everybody?
I would. At first, when you first start listening to me talk, you think, oh, that's a strange accent. And then suddenly you realize there's lots of free travel that you can unlock. And it's very overwhelming. We've covered an awful lot in half an hour, 40 minutes, and I've probably just baffled the hell out of most people listening. That is intentional. I wanted to show you how much there is out there for you to learn. And I will help you learn it. You don't need to spend money with me. I have free courses that you can watch on my website. You can go watch 1,000 videos that I've put on Instagram. I make one every day with a new tip. Start there. Watch my free course. If you love it, sure, there's a paid bigger one that you can watch. If you're a business owner, skip all of the above. Go on my website. There is a white glove consultation. That's my most popular product. It's also my flagship and my most expensive one, but it's the one that will help the most. It's a couple of hours with me. There's some prep work that I'll do before, some math, and I'll sit with you, your team, your CPA, your assistant, your team, and I will completely, from the ground up, re-educate all of you and get you beds on planes for life if you've got a lot of business spend. If you're somebody who doesn't own a business and you're a normal person, you spend between $1,000 and $10,000 a month on your credit card naturally, organically, go watch my online course. And if you're somebody who wants to get beds on planes and you don't want to do any of those things, no problem. Tell me what points you've got. I'll book your travel for you. My team will do it. There's a travel form on my website. Tell us what points you got and where you want to go, and we'll make it happen for you. There is something for everyone to learn more, travel more, and get more free stuff. And I'm here to help.
And that is awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. This has been a very informative episode, and it also unlocks a lot of excitement for me and things that I know I could have been doing better, that I'm kind of in the beginning, and you've been doing this for over a decade. So everybody, this has been another episode. We've got Owen, the points partner, with us. He's done an amazing job of laying out how to use credit cards. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Fix Your BS. I hope you've gained valuable insights and inspiration to challenge your own belief systems. If you're ready to take the next steps and join the Fix Your BS community dedicated to your personal transformation, check out my coaching group by clicking the link in the description, where we'll work together to turn your dreams into reality. If you're interested in joining Owen's groups at the Points Partner, once again, click on his links below. Remember, the only thing standing between you and your goals is your beliefs and your actions. So let's fix them. Until next time, keep believing in yourself. I'm Dr. Greg Pursley, also known as Dr. G, with Fix Your BS.